find the value of x. When we add them all up, they have to equal what? Yep, so if I have 45 plus 80 plus 7 plus 8x. So I am going to combine all of my, equals 180. Going to add up all of my like terms first. So 45 plus 80 plus 7 is 132. So I have 132 plus 8x equals 180. Draw my line. Box up my 8x. Subtract 132 from both sides because you're adding the additive inverse. These cancel each other out, so I have 8x equals 48. Then divide by 8 on both sides to get x alone, and my answer is 6. How many of you got 6? Good. Number 2, you need to look at your parallels, then look at the angles. And I want to know what kind of angles these are. Are they interior or exterior? And are they corresponding or alternating? So I want you to write that down if you didn't. Alternating interior angles. And what's important about alternating interior angles? Right, equal each other. I want you to make sure you're writing that down. So if the one is 98 degrees, my question mark is also what? 98 degrees. Which city has a smaller mean absolute deviation? So not just the mean, okay? So we're gonna write a set of notes here. And this is going to help several of you, especially when you get into some of your IXLs. I want you to write the words mean absolute deviation. I'm going to give you your steps on how to solve it. So step 1 is just to find the mean. Step 2 is to find the absolute value of difference between each data value and the mean. So what that means, it looks like this. The data value minus the mean. And those are in the absolute value. Step 3 then is to find the mean of the differences. How many of you knew how to find the mean absolute deviation? So what we're going to do first for McCone, step 1, we're going to find the mean. So 70, you guys see where I'm getting my numbers, 71, 72. So 71 plus 72 plus 66 plus 69 plus 71. Divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my answer is then 69.8. I can't remember if I rounded that or not. Yep, that was exact. Okay. Then you find the differences. So the difference would be, here's my data point, so I do the 71 minus 69.8. Okay, and that was 1.2. Then I do 72 minus my mean, 69.8. That gives me 2.2. Then I do, here's 66, so then I just start with the 69.8 minus 66, and I get 3.8. Then I do 69.8 minus my 69, and I get 0.8. Then I do 71 minus 69.8, and I already did that, so that's 1.2. So those are all my differences. Does anybody have questions on how I found my differences? Okay, so now I take these differences and add them up. So now this is, so that part, all of this part here was step 2. Now step 3 is adding my differences. So 1.2 plus 2.2 plus 3.8 plus 0.8 plus 1.2. Divide that by 5, and I get 1.84. So that's your mean absolute deviation for Macomb. How many of you got that part right? Okay, so you're writing it down if you didn't. Because I want to see all of these notes and all of these steps. If you're not ready for me to move on, raise your hand. I can wait. Okay, just keep writing. Now we're going to do it for Charlotte. Step 1, find the mean. 69 plus 64 plus 68 plus 74 plus 71. Divide it by 5. And I get 69.2. Step 2. Step 2, we're going to find the differences. So 69.2, that's my mean, minus my 69. Do you guys see I'm just starting with the biggest number because it has to be positive, so it doesn't really matter, so then that's 0.2. Then I do 69.2 minus 64, and I get 5.2. Then I have 69.2 minus 68, and I get 1.2. Then I do 74 minus 69.2. What did I get for that one? 4.8, does that sound right? Yeah. 4.8. Then I do 71 minus 69.2. And what did I get for that? 1.8. Then I go to step 3. Now I take step 3, I take all of these differences and find the mean. 0.2 plus 5.2 plus 1.2 plus 4.8 plus 1.8. Divide that by 5. And I got 2.6. So which one has the smallest absolute deviation? Well, it would be this one right here, the 1.84. so Macon. That's a lot of work to show the mean absolute deviation. You would write it out, but use your calculator if you need to. Some of these I thought were easy to subtract in my head, but when you want to add them and divide, use your calculator. Does anybody need more time to write it down? Okay. Number 4. Out of 50 customers surveyed, 22 of them stated that they would buy a protection plan. So 22 out of 50. If 700 customers came in the next day, predict how many of them would probably buy the protection plan. So that would be X out of 700. Does anybody know how to get from 50 to 700? What is it? 14. Times 14. So I could do that times 14, or this times 14, or I can just stick with the old way and do my cross product, right? Either way is fine, but if I do 22 times 4, and my cross product would be 50x equals 15,400, divide by 50, divide by 50, and x equals 308. How many of you got 308 for number 4? Good. 5 and 6, we did yesterday, so we're moving on to 7. A coin is tossed 625 times and heads comes up 275 times. What is the experimental probability of tossing tails? Okay, so 275 times out of 625 times is heads. So we need to figure, well, I guess you can do it a couple different ways. How many figured what was the other amount for tails then? Okay, so then you did 625 minus 275, correct? And that would be what? 350. So then I did 350 out of 625 is my tails. Now to make that a probability, you don't want to leave it as a fraction, you want to make it into a decimal. So I take 350 divided by 625, which equals 0.56, which then is just 56%. How many of you found this first as a decimal and a percent? You can do that too. That's how I did it. I did 275 divided by 625 is 0.44, which is 44%. And then I just took 100 minus 44 to get 56. How many of you got number 7 right? Okay. Better remember writing it down. Does anybody have another way? And 8. I'm running out of room here. Let me just squeeze up to here. Did anybody need that any longer? Okay, 8. A single die is rolled 100 times. List the probabilities below from least to greatest. So the probability of an odd number. Okay, so what are our odd numbers on a die? 1, what? 3 and 5. So that would be 3 out of 6, right? So that to roll an odd, I get 3/6, or you could say 50%. The probability of greater than a 4. So our number choices would be 5 and 6. So our probability would be 2/6. Prime numbers. What are our prime numbers? 2, what? 3 and 5. So our probability of that is 3, 6. Because 1 is not prime, right? 1 is neither prime nor composite. It's in its own world. And the probability of rolling an 8 would be what? 0, right? Or 0 out of 6. So if probability of, and we needed to order them from least to greatest. So the least would be the probability of rolling an 8, because that's 0, 6. Then we have the probability of rolling greater than a 4, because that's 2, 6. Doesn't matter which way we go for these two. Now I could say prime first or odd first. It doesn't matter, because they're both 50%. Make sure that you have all of the notes down. You will not get all of the points if you do not have all of the notes.